Hello, Keith. So today we're going to do a tour, aren't we?
We are going to show you around. This is part of the volunteer compound at Fort Amherst, but it's also where we store our historical artefacts and carry out conservation work on them. The main sort of storage area is actually this large container here, 40-foot ship's container, and we sort of wander in here. These shelves contain virtually everything that's been found at Fort Amherst over the last 40 years. We've been recording it, cleaning it, bagging it, and storing it, entry onto a database. But it also has items that have been donated to the fort. Some of the stuff is actually quite bizarre. For instance, we've got an ejector seat out of a jet fighter there. The relevance to Fort Amherst, I would have to say, is quite limited. Things like civil defence items, like these sort of folding beds and other things. Profusion of steel helmets in the racks down the bottom there. Oh, something here which is, could be quite useful. Bear in mind that the times that we currently live in. This is a WB 1400. It is more famously known as what delivered the 4-minute warning during the Cold War. It basically beeped away, and then if it suddenly turned to a warbling noise, you had 4 minutes left. Yes. Unfortunately, it's not connected, so it's going to be of limited value. We have other things here like civilian respirators or gas masks. Now these are kept bagged. The reason being is that the filters on these contain asbestos, which is harmful to health, so they have to be kept sealed so that there is no danger to us in storing or handling them. Now what we have done, actually, so we can have some of these on displays, we've bought some dummy filters that are going to be changed over on some of these. They will look very similar to the originals, but they will not have any nasty items in them, so it means that members of the public can actually safely handle them. But until that time, we need to keep them secure. Other stuff we have here, a collection of strange looking models. These were developed for the Civil Defence Corps in the 1950s, so they could actually set up field kitchens and welfare facilities in the aftermath of World War III. And these are items which have survived actually in Devon for many years after the Civil Defence Corps was disbanded in 1967. They were donated to Fort Amherst in the 1990s. At that time, the fort actually maintained a civil defence museum because it had civil defence connections in World War II. That museum was later closed down as the building became unsafe, and we've managed to keep some of the more interesting items into storage for when the time is right to put them on display. See, here we have things like sort of steel helmets. There's one here with a W on, and that designates it belonged to an air raid warder, the W meaning warden. The one here, this means there's someone who's a section leader in the civil defence, like corporal stripes on it. We have one here which is grey. It's got an FS on it, which stands for fire service. And most of the civil defence ones, you're able to determine what their use was from the letters that were actually put onto the steel helmet. I also have here, which is a more modern British Army helmet. These were out of use in the 1980s. They actually were first used around the time of D-Day, 1944. These sort of tortoiseshell helmets.
Yes, that's a rarer variant, isn't it?
Yes. And other various items here. Bottom shelf here, we have radiation meters dating from the 1950s right up to the orange one, which was the most modern one produced in the 1980s. And other bits and pieces here, when we're going down the rack here in the small boxes, we actually have the archaeological finds that were sort of discovered on the fort. If I sort of just take one of these boxes at random. Open it up. What we have in here is animal bone, mainly I think sort of sheep or mutton used by the soldiers, and we've got sort of various bits of tile here that have come from roofs. And the odd thing like this. This is an army toothbrush dating from about 1940. No bristles left on it, but it was discovered during the excavation works on the fort. And there's various items of pottery, I think a little bit of green glaze on that. These run to several thousand items, actually, which we've catalogued and placed into store. Other larger stuff, we've got ordnance here. This is a collection of various shells. Over there, fire bombs. These are incendiary bombs. It's the real thing, dating from the 1940s. This one is being cut away as an instructional example to show how they work. These were dropped by the hundreds of thousands by the Luftwaffe during World War II. In its complete form, that's what it looks like there with the tail on. And these were dropped after the general bombing had been done to actually create sort of fires and try and create a firestorm situation.
And Keith, if anyone discovers anything looking like this, what should they do?
Absolutely leave it alone.
Yes.
And call the police immediately.
Yes.
Under no account pick up anything that looks like unexploded ordnance. It is very dangerous stuff, and I would strongly emphasise that everything within our collection is entirely inert. It has been sort of deactivated, and all the new stuff that we take in from various sources has to come with a certificate of it saying that it is explosives free, which we record in our records. Yes. Health and safety is paramount.